Well, welcome everyone to another fun edition of Toastmasters training for area directors and division directors. My name is Scott Brown. I'm the program quality director for Division 11 here in Fort Wayne and Northern Kentucky. And tonight we are going to delve into the role of how to do area director reports, why to do area director reports, and how fun those reports can be. Now, one of the reasons why we're doing this training is because as I've gotten some of the director reports back, one of the things I keep hearing in emails is, thank goodness it's done. And I have to say that that is not necessarily my perception of it, because I think that the area director has the most fun job out of all of the district positions. You get to go and visit other clubs. Tonight, we're going to talk a little bit about how to actually make your visits more meaningful, both to you and to your clubs. I'm here to tell you that while the meeting part is exceptionally fun, I'm sorry that the report part is not. But we will help you get through all of that part. So tonight is going to be about enhancing club quality. Everyone can see my PowerPoint, I hope. Good, because I can't. No? Is that a no? Oh, if I hit share screen first, that would be really helpful. All I did was just toggle back to my other screen. All right. Fantastic. So tonight we're going to talk about quality clubs. We're going to talk about how to know the club visits and resources. One of the most important parts of this, I think, is that this is not something that area directors have to do. It's something that area directors get to do. And it's a change in mindset between what you have to do and what you get to do. We're going to talk a bit about how to prepare for the visits, how to examine what contributes to a quality club, how to practice building trust and effectively building clubs. The whole thing comes down to, and you've heard me say this many, many times so far this year, it's all about relationships. The goal behind everything we are doing here is to help you build more effective relationships, not just within your areas, but within other Toastmasters communities out there. Our goal is to help you have the most enriching and fulfilling experience you can possibly have throughout your Toastmasters journey. And this is just part of that. You get to have, as an area director or division director, you get to have a significant impact upon the future success of your clubs. Every area director comes in with their own ideas, with their own thoughts, but when you build on that year after year, clubs end up learning a lot of different things from a lot of different people. And the way that you position that in terms of how can I help, instead of you're doing it wrong, you should do it this way, because how many of us love to hear you're doing it wrong, you should do it this way? I've never met anybody that likes to hear that, but most people like to hear, hey, there's another way. Have you ever thought of? Most people are saying, I could be open to that, or at least not hit you for saying it. We're kind of just going with the, how do we position this in a way that's going to be the most positive experience for your clubs? Club quality is the basis for my position as program quality director. Without quality, there is no reason for me to have a position here. And my goal is to help you build better quality meetings. Now, by show of hands, how many of you walked into a club meeting and realized that you were one of 5 people in that club meeting? And then when you went to Zoom, you realized you were now one of 3 people within that club meeting. We've lost some folks when we went to Zoom. We went from small clubs to smaller clubs. We went from healthy clubs down to struggling clubs. The one thing that I found to be consistent, though, is the clubs that focus most on having quality meetings are the ones that dropped attendance the least, because there is a reason why people get up and they go back to those meetings. It's not something that people have to do. It's something that people get to do. The stronger the quality is. So by being able to deliver a meeting that is meaningful to each individual member, your members will find a reason why they get to go, not a reason why they get to avoid it. That's where the quality comes in. I think we've all been to club meetings here in these past few months that you look around and you say, wow, I really miss so-and-so being here because that person, for whatever reason, doesn't do Zoom, isn't comfortable with technology, whatever the reason. There are ways for us to be able to engage them in the quality context of the club meeting to help earn them back. And it might mean a hybrid meeting. There are a lot of things that we can do as we start to get used to meeting together in person, that we can do to create a safe environment for everybody, yet still providing the type of experience that all of our members are craving. And that's different for every single member. So, like I've said many times about the Toastmasters PowerPoint presentations, they do strongly believe that more is better. And here are a lot of words on one slide. So instead of reading all this to you, I'm going to paraphrase everything this says. Great quality meetings bring out the best in our members. When we teach people how to communicate better, when we give them something that they can use outside of Toastmasters, it gives them a reason to come into Toastmasters. And the same principles hold true whether you're meeting online or on Zoom. Same principles hold true. Plan your meetings successfully. Work ahead of time to fill roles. Ensure that you're following up with members so they know what they're doing at that meeting, why they should be there, and what they're going to get out of it. The same things we would do if we were meeting in person, the same fundamentals happen for all of our individual club meetings. So how does that help, or how is that enhanced by area directors and division directors? Number one thing, you guys are mentors. All of you are going to help mentor clubs in how to do things like attracting and retaining members. You're going to help them understand the educational program. You're going to help them understand how Toastmasters develops leaders for their experience outside of Toastmasters. They're looking to you as individuals that have resources that may be just a few steps in front of them in your journey, but have experienced a few more things than what they have experienced. Our clubs, every club right now, is looking for another point of view to help them take the next step forward. Whether it's a club that has decided that they're going to become just an online club and they're going to stay with Zoom, a club that may be trying to practice, how do we do a virtual meeting while we're also doing a in-person meeting or a hybrid meeting, and clubs also that are trying to figure out how do we socially distance and give speeches in person? Do we have to wear masks when we give a speech? What do we do? All of these things, area directors, division directors are going to help clubs figure out different ways to do things by sharing their experiences in terms of, hey, I've seen this thing somewhere else. Here's another suggestion for you, as opposed to you're doing it wrong, because you're doing it wrong is always wrong. So one of the first things that area directors, division directors do before they go to a club, how many of you have ever had an area director drop by, just randomly drop by without calling or emailing ahead of time? You had no idea they were coming. It happens. Dawn, I know you're shaking your head no, because you guys meet at such random times that it's hard for us, even if we do know when your meetings are, for us to get there. It's difficult though, right? If you have an area director that just randomly shows up, you're not ready for them. You're not ready to help get them all their information that they need to fill out their area director reports. So the communication ahead of time, a lot like you would expect a club to do in terms of their membership, to be able to communicate who has what roles, you're communicating that you have a role at that meeting, and that role is to help guide them towards a better future as a club. Get in touch with them first. Make sure it's a good meeting to go to. Sometimes we have meetings that don't happen at the specific times that we thought they were always going to happen in the past. Times get changed because of different things happening. I will be the first to admit that I have had to change district trainings. I have had to change my club meeting for Fort Wayne storytellers on multiple occasions because I can't figure out how to schedule district trainings around club schedules. I'm horrible at that. So I've had to change their meeting times. And if my area director was going to show up for one of those meetings, I had to change the time, they weren't going to be there. So in order to make sure that you're not wasting your time or their time, reach out, make sure that they know you're coming, and start to build the relationship, not just for, hey, I'm coming, but why you're coming. It's not to check up on a club, to report back. It's to experience how another club works and to share some knowledge about how you've seen Toastmasters work that may or may not be beneficial for what they're trying to do going forward. As you get to go to those meetings, one of the best things you can do is as you try to foster quality meetings, is to print out those reports or to have them available to you as you're going through, so that you have kind of an idea of questions you might want to ask and to help prod you towards specific things. The Distinguished Club Program is an important part, is really the foundation of what the area director report is based upon. How many of you are comfortable with what is in the Distinguished Club program? A couple. Dawn's like, yeah. Kathy's like, eh. A couple of us are, a couple of us aren't. If you pull up your Distinguished Club program reports, take a look at those. Not necessarily just to see where people are, but just to be comfortable with what is entailed in that. Now, up until this year, there were educational requirements that you could either do pathways training or legacy training. The legacy educational segment washed away at the end of the Toastmasters year at the end of June. So the only educational credits that clubs earn now are for pathways. So it's important for area directors and division directors to have at least a rudimentary knowledge of how those programs work, of how to get into pathways. You're going to find there's a number of questions that still exist out there about, I can't figure out how to get into approve a path. I can't figure out how to get in to complete my path. I can't figure out how to get in to complete a project. So some of those questions that you're going to get, they may seem rudimentary to you because you've been around for a little while, but for somebody that is either a new Toastmaster or who has just transitioned over from legacy into pathways, they're brand new to these folks. Give them a lot of patience and help them, because how we help them with this transition is going to largely determine to how engaged they are with us going forward. They have to be able to see how our educational program will help them in future meetings and in future endeavors. Build the trust. The trust building is all about the relationship. I've unfortunately seen far too many area director visits in the past that have been about the area director. You guys get the greatest experience of being able to go and experience clubs in a way that folks are looking to you for support. And I think that's a wonderful position to be in. It's never about you. It's always about your club members. It's always about your club officers. It's always about the club experience. We're just a vessel to be able to help transfer information and to transfer experiences. But be honest with them. When somebody says, hey, what could we have done better? Think about it in terms of an evaluation. Give them the same sort of feedback you would do an evaluation. Give them something that they do really well. Then give them a couple of things that maybe they want to think about working on. And then wrap up with something encouraging that they're going to want to move forward. Have you ever had one of those chainsaw evaluations that made you walking away wondering why you ever stood to speak in the first place? Where you've gotten one of those horrible evaluations that just belittled you and made you just question, why am I even a Toastmaster in the first place? I once got an evaluation from a longtime Toastmaster in Florida whose exact words were, we could not hear you past the jiggling of the jowls in your chin. That was, he had been a Toastmaster for 20 years, and he thought that was important feedback to give to me. Those kind of things leave lasting impressions. I'm now 6 years removed and 3 districts removed from that, and I'm still sharing that story. So how you build the relationship, how you frame your feedback is going to be incredibly important. It's going to be incredibly important to how you build the relationships going forward. Because is the goal really for you to walk in and give information and walk away? Or is it really for you to walk in and build a relationship and a friend with somebody and then be able to be a resource for them? Maybe not just for this year, but maybe you become friends with them and you become part of that tribe for years to come. Which one's more beneficial? I think we all know that we would love to have people walk with us instead of trying to trip us. Much more important process within Toastmasters. What do you look for? First impressions. Remember when we used to meet in person and we walked and our first impressions were about walking into a building and you walked in and you said, wow, that's a really nice room you have. Or, wow, I did not think the basement of a church would have no windows. First impressions really mattered. Now when we go into a meeting, what are we really looking at when we walk into a meeting? I'd love to unmute yourselves. What are the things you're looking for when you first walk into a meeting? What are the first things you notice at a meeting when you're not in person anymore? Dave, what do you notice?
Oh, sure. Pick on me. I noticed the number of people who are in attendance.
Absolutely. Number of people. That's a huge part. Kathy, what about you?
If the roles are filled or if they're scrambling at the last minute to find people to fill.
Yes. How many meetings have you been in where they're still trying to find speakers for the day of the meeting? It happens, right? I know I'm in a club that we do that sometimes, without a doubt. Don, what do you notice when you first walk in?
If somebody greets me, that's the first thing I notice. If they welcome me, if they say hi, or if they just kind of, yeah, there's another person on the Zoom.
Yes, very important. You notice when all of you joined tonight, one of the first things I asked was, how are you? What's new? I'm not just doing it to be cordial. I really do care. I really do want to know because I really do enjoy all of the Toastmasters that are out there. Rick, what do you notice?
Well, actually, I start noticing before I even get this far because the first thing I look at is their website. And if the website's just that only first, that free Toast host site, the default pages, or if it looks like the website hasn't been updated in the last 20 years, you know, that sets a bad impression. But once I get on board, I like to, in my own head, I like to look at how many people are really live versus how many people are black screened out. And to me, that makes a difference because the black screen people are either simply don't have the video on or they're just attending by telephone. And it really reduces the quality of the meeting to have people without being able to see them, I think.
At times that's true. You're absolutely right. I think that there is absolutely something for being able to have that one-on-one interaction. I think the one other thing though with that is we have to be cognizant of sometimes we have folks that are taking calls when turning their camera on would be dangerous. Like I believe right now, I believe Alice is driving. And I think that this would be a really bad time for her to be chiming in if she was driving down the road and turning her camera on. So yes, I would love to see everybody's face, but at the same time, I would love to make sure that nobody dies during our meeting. This would be a bad precedent to set. But Rick, you're absolutely right. I think there's one other thing that we didn't talk about though, that is really kind of one of those first parts of what do you notice about the meeting? Anybody ever have to scramble to figure out the Zoom link to get on? Which one is it? Is it, where am I going for this thing? Is it on the website? Oh no, it's not on the website. Was it an email? Who sent the email? When did I get the email? Making it easy for folks to be able to find that information is really important, is very important. And I don't necessarily always do a great job with that with district calls, but I think that it's something I'm definitely working on and something that we all have to be aware of, that if we are not making it easy for folks to get to our meetings, sometimes those visitors that may be apprehensive about doing this in the first place, if we make it too difficult for them, they're just not going to join. So yes, very good job. Impressions still matter. Impressions still matter. Does anybody look at backgrounds when you have the cameras on? Anybody pay attention to what's behind people? I personally, every time I'm on a call with Dave, I enjoy watching his cat wander around his room. And it's not because I'm a huge cat fan, but I love the fact that it's just that Zoom has just become part of his life. And it's okay if his cat wanders around. That I enjoy that I enjoy the fact that you can have fun with it. I enjoy the backgrounds that happen. I enjoy the fact that Dawn is now sitting in a very peaceful and tranquil place where I know that her dog is either sitting on her lap or at her feet. And it's okay. The call that we were just on, we had a dog that was during an entire speech, all that we heard was the clicking of the nails on the floor. And I personally don't find that overly distracting, but a lot of Toastmasters will find that very distracting. Rick, I think, just went back to 1836 and is a miner somewhere right now. Either that or he is a gangster in Chicago. I'm not quite sure which way that goes. And is that your daughter?
Granddaughter.
Granddaughter, very nice. I think that there's really something to how we use backgrounds to show a personality for who we are. All that ambience really does make a difference. Even how we use things like when you're timing or when you're doing timing for speeches. Have you seen people use the colored screens behind the green, the yellow, the red? I'm in a club that instead of just using green, yellow, red, they ask you to personalize each your green, yellow, and red to be something important to you, something that talks more about you. So I use a green from a golf course, the actual greens, the fairway and the green for the green, a giant yellow softball for the yellow, and a red barn, because I live in Indiana now and there are barns everywhere. And you're able to personalize it. So those first impressions and how do you remember those meetings from how we physically appear in all of our meetings, I think is really important. And being able to help members in different clubs think outside the box to how they might do things differently going forward. Think of when we first started Zoom. When we were timing, how many of us had somebody that just tried to hold up cards in front of the camera to be able to show like green, yellow, red? Was it distracting a little bit when that happened? I thought so when that first started. One of my Friday clubs, when we would time, the timer was sitting beside the stoplights and he would show the stoplights just like we would do if we were in person. Really cool if they're tall. If the small stoplights, it didn't really work that well. So how you position yourself in terms of what are the artifacts you use to bring your story to life? Very important. I think that's something that area directors, division directors can help clubs share some of those practices out there to create a different experience and a better experience for everybody that's out there. Some of the great discussions that happen out there sometimes only happen towards the end of the meeting. Now, as you're visiting clubs, are you able to fill any of the other roles that are within the club meeting? Like, could you be a timer? Could you be a speaker? Could you be a table topics master or any of those things? Rick's saying yes. Well, what does everyone else think? Yes or no? Can you do that?
I have.
Good. Yes. The answer is 100% yes. Kathy's like, please be right. Please be right. Yes, 100%. And if you're visiting a club that may be struggling for membership, having an extra hand there really makes a huge difference, and it makes a lasting impression. Imagine walking into a meeting when maybe you only have 6 people at that meeting and you're an area director visiting, and you go in and you don't want to take on a role because you don't want to get in their way, or you come up with some other reason not to. It now gives just one person just to sit and observe, or 5 other people are trying to struggle to get all of the roles filled. Let this be an opportunity also that if when you contact them early, ask if there are speaking slots. You can absolutely give project speeches to a whole different club, to a whole different audience. And why is that so important for clubs to sometimes hear a different voice? Why would clubs want to hear a different voice sometimes?
I think sometimes that raises the bar.
Sometimes
kinda
it does raise the bar. Absolutely. What else?
I think they get comfortable too. We all get comfortable in our little world, and when we hear something different, it gives us something else to think about and maybe spur on some other ideas as well.
Absolutely, without a doubt. What else? There's 2 other really big ones that are out there, and I said this during ambassador training. Dave.
It's a different voice. It's
Yes.
speaking in a maybe different manner than they're accustomed to.
That is one of them, without a doubt. If you go to smaller clubs that maybe only have 6 or 8 members, do you think they get tired of hearing the same voice on a regular basis? The same 4 people speaking? If you're in one of those smaller clubs, do you get tired of getting the same evaluations from the same 4 people on a regular basis? It's great for the development both of the club and of the individual and of you as an area director, division director. It makes it meaningful for both of you. Kathy.
I'd like to add, I visited one of my clubs and was the table topics master for the
Sweet.
day. And I did table topics questions to get to know them better. So it was a great experience. We all got to know each other a little bit.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That is absolutely awesome. Fantastic. That's the way to conduct an area director visit, without a doubt. It's becoming involved. It's being a Toastmaster and also being a resource. And that is the most important part. It's not that you have a more important job, you just have a little bit of a different perspective. And I think that's such an important component of how create quality clubs. So then after you do the visit, is your job done then? After you've gone and you've done the visit, and maybe you've even come back and spent the hour typing it into the website to get everything done. Because if you haven't done them yet, set some time aside. It takes a while to enter them. Dawn, set some time aside. It'll take a while to enter them. You're new to this. I'm giving you a hint. What else do you want to do once you finish the reports? Well, what else is the important part? Is it just the visit and the report? What else could possibly be out there that's important for the area director reports and that relationship?
I think there's some follow-up. There's a lot, definitely follow up on any questions that they have or any further information that they need.
Absolutely. Follow-up is massively important. Can you imagine, or I know this happens in the real world because for years I was a human resource director. And once a year, we would do performance evaluations. And every year at performance, Dawn's like, I know where he's going here. And every year at performance evaluation time, we would have managers that would be preparing to do an evaluation. And we'd realize it was the first time they were talking to their direct report in a year, that they've never given any feedback to the person. So they have no idea, good or bad, what's happened. And there's no relationship there. The same thing can happen with us. We can go and we can visit clubs, and then we keep those observations to ourselves. And then eventually it gets back to the club that, hey, the area director said that you should all focus on this. And they're like, well, that's great. Nobody told me that. And there becomes a friction there. There becomes a rub. It's all about the relationship. The relationship is paramount to the quality of everyone's interaction, how everyone perceives Toastmasters. So share your observations. What else could you do besides just sharing that? What's another way to be able to further that relationship besides just sharing it?
You can encourage them like to, hey, I see you've got, I don't know, I'm not quite sure where I was going with that, but it's.
You could definitely encourage them.
It's
Can you get
8:30
credit
at
in
night.
Can area directors get credit in the ambassador program for anything? What do you have to do as an area director to get credit in the ambassador for something?
You have to visit on an unofficial visit.
Exactly. What if you went back? Imagine this. Imagine if you didn't just go when you had to go, but you got to go another time because you wanted to go. How much do you think that club would then appreciate your feedback compared to somebody that does it just because they have to? Getting to do it because you get to is so much more powerful than because you have to. So yes, go back a second time. How far do you have to travel to get to go to a club meeting right now?
2 feet.
Exactly. Like kitchen to office. That's it. Maybe you have to step around the dog in the hallway. That's going to be like the biggest traffic jam you have. You don't have to go anywhere. So if you can figure out exactly. So if you can figure out the time of the meeting, you can even, maybe not while you're driving. I actually did one of the round tables sitting in my car at the softball field because I had a double header right after the training sessions. You don't have to do them where you are. You can always take your phone, just like Kathy showed. You can take your phone with you and you can take meetings from anywhere that's convenient for you. The goal is, though, it doesn't become something that's a have to do. It becomes something that is a want to do. And the more that we can expound upon that, the better. I think you hopefully are picking up on a theme here tonight for what quality meetings are about relationships. So when you go back a second time in the spring officially, maybe it's your third visit, maybe it's your fourth visit. What is a great way to be able to help reward somebody for growth? What is the easiest way to be able to reward somebody for growth as they've as a club that maybe has matured in the past 6 months between your visits?
Notice the growth and tell them.
Exactly. Notice it. Have you ever had a boss that you worked your butt off for and you got a lot better, but they never said a word to you? I think we've all had we've all had those bosses that maybe we've learned what not to do from as opposed to what to do from. We're in the same situation that we can be the people that we can be those area directors and division directors and district leaders that help our Toastmasters realize why these roles are important, because we encourage that, we're giving them that feedback, we're making them feel important, we're recognizing their growth, we're recognizing taking that next step forward. And it can be different in every club. You might have a club that next step forward is doing district level training. And you might have a club that taking that next step forward is preparing agendas ahead of time. It's going to be different for every single club, but recognizing their efforts goes so far in being able to help further those relationships that happen within Toastmasters. There are a ton of resources that are out there if you're ever looking for how to find resources. Unfortunately, Toastmasters doesn't believe in updating these trainings on a regular basis. So we're going to show you all of the manuals that are no longer in print. However, if you're looking for how to build relationships in some of those places and some other thoughts on why Toastmasters is so important, where is a place that here at District 11 you can find other resources for things to share with clubs? Where do you think you could find some of that?
On the district website?
Exactly. We record all of this stuff. And sometimes because we mess up the screen sharing the first time, we have to restart and do it over, just like we did tonight, that you're never going to know what happened before we started, but know that this is take two because take one didn't work so well. Be human to them. Help them through all of these things. When somebody can't find where the YouTube link is, walk them through it. There are a ton of resources that are out there. We're trying to inundate you with resources this year so that you have as much information as you can possibly use to be able to do that. So the why behind the area director report and how to fulfill that report, like Rick said, pull up the information first from their club website so you have an idea of who they are as a club. Then go into the Distinguished Club Program reports and see where they stand within all of their reports and how are they trending. What educational segments do they need? How do they need help filling out all of those, the rest of the points that they may be trying to earn for their club towards their DCP goals? And then when you go and build the relationships, contact them early, offer to fill a role both to help them and to help you. Do everything you can to build a relationship. Go back if you can and help further that relationship by visiting a second or a third time because you get to help them. And then lastly, as you're filling out all of your reports, make sure that you remember that everybody is in a different place within their journey. And it's not your place to judge them upon where they are, but to help them figure out how to take that step from where they are now to where they can possibly go tomorrow. So I'm going to stop sharing screens because this is the end of the Toastmasters presentation. Thoughts and questions that you may have about quality clubs and about the area director reports and about the area director process and division director visits and that sort of thing. Nothing?
Not yet, not till I look at one.
All right. All right. Well, Don, the first time that you get ready to take a visit, I encourage you, if you have questions upon how to figure that out, call Dave. He's been a division director a couple of times now. If you need to, call me. I've been a division director in the past as well. The goal is that we don't want anybody sitting out there trying to figure stuff out on their own and being frustrated. So if you can, go out, try to find somebody who has the answers and be able to partner with them. It's all about how can we do this together and better together. If we do that, I think we're going to have, it's already started out to be a really good year. Surprisingly, it's about the only time I've said in 2020, this has been a really good year. But it has started out to be a good year this year, and we're looking forward to making this even a better year for everybody. Having said all that, thank you so much for coming tonight. I really appreciate it. This will be posted again on the District 11 website under our YouTube links for all of our educational segments. I'm going to hit stop recording. I thank you all for coming tonight.